The state's highest court ruled in favor of the San Diego Public Defender's Office, who challenged the 2006 voter-approved Jessica's Law on behalf of 4 registered sex offenders on parole in San Diego County. My guest, Alex Simpson, law professor at Cal Western School of Law and the associate director of the California Innocent Project, joins us with analysis on this. And Alex, how does this ruling actually change Jessica's Law?
So specifically what the court found is that the residency restrictions of Jessica's Law were unconstitutional. So specifically parolees who are subject to registered sex offense registration are now able to live within 2,000 feet of schools or parks because of this new law.
And this is different because it's a case-by-case basis, or how will that be judged?
Yeah, so the court found that if you have a blanket restriction on all registered sex offenders who are on parole, that's unconstitutional because there's no rational basis for that determination. In fact, the court found that in many instances it actually increases incidents of homelessness and other issues. The only thing that the court found was that as a practical matter, we really just don't have a good reason to have registered sex offenders who are restricted in this way.
I want to come back to that in a moment, but first, specifically, who does this ruling apply to?
It will specifically apply to people who are currently on parole, who are subject to 290 registration, sex offense registration.
But not all sex offenders.
No, obviously, if you're talking about somebody who is convicted of a sex offense, but they don't go to prison for it and they're only on probation, this wouldn't apply. And it also doesn't apply if you were previously on parole, but now you're no longer on parole. So that doesn't apply in that situation.
No, you touched on this. Justice Marvin Baxter, conservative on the California Supreme Court, wrote this decision. And did he say anything else about this as far as the reasons why this law isn't doing what it's supposed to do?
Well, the court found specifically, and this was a unanimous decision, something that I think that none of us really expected in the legal world, but the court found specifically that you have to have a rational basis for this particular restriction. And there wasn't really any research that showed that this actually helped to protect children or to decrease the number of people who are going to reoffend. And in fact, it does increase the likelihood that they're going to be homeless. It does increase the problems that homelessness comes with. And so because of that, the court found there was no rational basis for that
And one of the problems being if somebody's homeless, you can't monitor them or track them as well if they're a sex offender?
Yeah, one of the things that the court did find was that it does make it more likely that GPS monitoring is going to be less effective. There were a number of people from law enforcement who testified that there was a tremendous increase in homelessness in the sex offender registry population as a result of Jessica's Law. So that's what the court really was wrestling with.
How challenging here is it for people who are paroled sex offenders in San Diego County and San Diego City to find housing?
So the court looked at the 482 sex offenders that we have in San Diego and found that only 36%, about a third, were compliant with Jessica's Law. So the vast majority of people who are on registered sex offense requirements were not able to comply with Jessica's Law and find housing that was affordable, that they were able to actually stay away from 2,000 feet from schools or parks.
Could this ruling, do you think, eventually affect other cities in California?
There's no reason to say that San Diego is in some way unique with regards to this. I mean, Los Angeles, San Francisco, all of them have large populations and large sex offender populations, and the same problems with, if you're talking about urban areas, there are schools and parks that will pretty much make sure that nobody can kind of stay in the downtown area. And that's really what the court was wrestling with. You know, you've got to have the ability to give services to people who are on parole, and so that's why they found it was just not practical.
Okay, Alex Simpson, thanks so much for the update.